many years do you have to be a federal judge to know this is bullshit? That this is why our courts are an adversarial process. Where has been even one judge, one of these federal judges, impeached by the House in order to appear before Congress? Remember, the Constitution only creates one court, one federal court, the Supreme Court. Every other federal court is a creation of Congress. These judges have bosses. When are those bosses, our Congress, going to start doing its job? I'd like to know. That part's not on the president. The president has to appeal these lawless orders, but he's not responsible for what Congress does with their Article 1 authority. Where are they? Where are you, Article 1 MAGA? So, Mr. Bavino, finally, we are 13 pages into this transcript before there's a question to Mr. Bavino. Gregory Bavino, Border Patrol Chief at Large. Where have you instructed the agents to put, whether it's their star number, I guess she means badge number, or whatever the number is that identifies them, where are they supposed to put it? So the judge says, I haven't been seeing these alphanumeric identifiers I've demanded on the videos. So let's agree on where they should be placed. You tell me. I just think it needs to be consistent so that in these videos, I don't have to search around for it because that's too much trouble for the judge. So let's pick a place. Left shoulder, front chest. What's the best place for it to be? Bavino says, Your Honor, I'd like to have a few locations because our agents, when they deploy to the field, often deploy with various types of equipment. That's why the uniforming of law enforcement is not subject to federal judges. These are executive responsibilities. Some of what you're seeing, I believe, in the photographs, that equipment as they put it on at times may occlude that identifier, or the identifier is on a place that you can't see it on the video. For instance, I asked an agent about where's your identifier, Bavino speaking now, because I didn't see it. Well, it was in a very conspicuous location. It was just on the back of the helmet instead of the front. So I believe they are wearing these mandated by you, Canadian-born to Jamaican parents, federal judge. I believe they're wearing those mandated identifiers. But if we're going to, I would like several locations because agents will utilize various types of equipment, whether it's vests or rifle slings or a whole myriad of other things that you don't know a damn thing about, Your Honor, because you're a judge. You're not an officer of law enforcement. If we say it can only be on their left shoulder, then it might very well get covered up or be in a place at that moment in time that you can't see it. So would it make sense to have it in at least two places? Why don't we just make the whole uniform the number, Your Honor? Why don't we just print out uniforms that are nothing but unique alphanumeric identifiers? Maybe in two places, maybe in a conspicuous location they can choose based on their individual kit. All right, so do agents always wear helmets? She doesn't even know this. Bavino says that would depend. They don't always wear helmets. Okay, so why don't we say the identifier needs to be in a conspicuous location in at least two places? Is that fair? Is that fair? Did I do that? The judge, like an HR Karen, pretending to be reasonable. Is that fair? What's he supposed to say? He's under oath in your courtroom, pretending that you have authority over him as you issue these lawless orders. You may as well have a judicial gun to his head. Is it okay? Is the gun uncomfortable? Is that fair? Is it all right? You can have the identifier in a conspicuous location that's visible so that agents can determine that various locations. It creates a lot of confusion among a uniformed agent. So what I'd like to see in a conspicuous location is that we can agree it's conspicuous per that agent. Okay, I'm willing to do that. I'm not trying to micromanage. The audacity of this judge. I'm not trying to micromanage. She's telling him how to uniform his men. I'm trying to make this as easy as possible, right? So that I'm not searching when the plaintiffs say this is a violation, that I'm not looking at these videos and I can't see anything, right? So I want to make it easy for the agents, easy for me, so I know when there's a violation. Is that okay? What's he supposed to say? No, ma'am? No? All right, then. All right. She goes into her TRO some more. All agents, except those not wearing uniform, shall have that are currently equipped and trained with body-worn cameras shall activate them when engaged in enforcement activity, unless exempted by CBP, ICE, or DHS policy. Well, she's overriding the policy. They already have a policy on body-worn cameras. The definition of body-worn camera shall be defined as defined in DHS policy. The definition of enforcement activity is all aspects of ICE enforcement. So it's all the time, except undercover activity. Oh, you don't have to wear a body-worn camera when you're engaged in undercover activity? When you're dealing with confidential enforcement? Thank you, Your Honor. Thank you. That's very nice of you. On board commercial flights, custodial interviews with suspects. That's so kind of her. So my understanding, the judge said, he told me that all Customs and Border Patrol officers operating in the area have body-worn cameras issued to them. Is that right? Bovino says, well, the vast majority, 99% do. There are a few who don't have them issued yet. And when would they get them? Well, because of this chaos, by your political allies, Your Honor, we've had to fly in Border Patrol agents from all across the U.S. We have 20 Border Patrol sectors, and not every officer in every sector has been trained and equipped with cameras. Those agents have been detailed here because of this madness. It's possible some of them do not have body-worn cameras when they show up. The training is not the problem. The training is about 4 hours long. They talk about it's getting the equipment. Can we do that? The judge says, we'll make strides to do that. I can't guarantee 100% that I can tell the chief of Border Patrol that you're going to send me a body-worn camera right now, but I'll certainly work towards it. The judge says, I believe there's 201 agents currently here, approximately true. How many of them have body-worn cameras? Bovino doesn't know. Judge says, I'd like you to do your best to ensure everybody who's operating under this Midway Blitz operation, they all have body-worn cameras. Okay, I'll do my best. She tells everybody, cameras are your friend. And of course, cameras will turn out, as they've turned out to be in law enforcement friends, right? Remember when it was Black Lives Matters who were screaming for police to get body-worn cameras because they mistakenly believed it would show police abuse? And all it showed was all the crazy criminal suspects, often black, acting insanely violent, irrationally, psychotically, when lawfully confronted by police. Do you have a body-worn camera? Bovino says, I don't. I've not yet received the camera nor the training. She says, so you're in charge of the operation, right? I think probably you have an in with Secretary Noem, Secretary Department of Homeland Security, his boss before the president. Bovino says, I've talked to her from time to time. If you asked for one, the judge says, you could probably get one, right? Without having to pull strings or do anything inappropriate. Yes, I think I could. You think that would be fair? Is that a fair statement? How about you show up here on Friday with a camera, Bovino, and the training? All right, moving on. Bovino says he'll do that. It's further ordered that federal agents widely disseminate notice of this temporary restraining order. I believe Bovino's done that. That defendants will issue guidance to officers about the order. And here's an interesting one. Here's a requirement put on the plaintiffs that they completely ignored. And she doesn't say a damn thing about it. It's further ordered that in the event plaintiffs seek relief for an alleged violation of this order, plaintiffs shall make a good faith attempt to meet and confer with defendants at least 24 hours before filing a request with this court for relief, and that defendants must respond. You think that happened? Again, I covered this on Saturday. See if I can find it quickly. Yeah, here it is. Let me switch over. This is when the plaintiffs filed the complaint that led to this appearance of Bovino in court. Look what happened. Again, the judge just said they're supposed to make a good faith effort to contact the feds first before filing in court and ask them, hey, what happened here? Was this a violation or did you have reason for deploying the pepper spray? What do the plaintiffs actually do? The plaintiffs are filing this notice of alleged violation of the TRO without completing conferral with the government because of their significant concerns that defendants are simply ignoring this court's TRO. So part of the TRO order, the only part that applies to the plaintiffs, they just get to ignore that. They did not do this. They did not notify the government. before filing their complaint with the court? Because they're untrustworthy, lying shitbags. That's why. Further ordered that in the event the plaintiffs seek release for an alleged violation, they should make a good faith attempt to meet or confer with the defendants at least 24 hours before filing the request for relief. Did not happen. Any chastisement? Did she call up the media to the witness stand and say, why didn't you do this? Why did you violate my temporary restraining order? Of course not. It's further ordered that in the interest of justice, the court orders the plaintiffs to provide zero insecurity. Because under Rule 65C of the Federal Civil Rules of Civil Procedure, a plaintiff seeking a temporary restraining order is required to put up a bond. But these lefty judges, especially this Canadian-born to Jamaican parents, Judge Sarah Ellis, nominated by Barack Obama, all these lefty judges, they just wave away the requirement from a bond when they issue these TROs in favor of these feckless plaintiffs and against our democratically elected Article 2 executive branch. Zero insecurity. Let's see. Do you have any questions for me? The judge says, after going through this TRO, as to what I meant by any of those provisions. Bovino says he doesn't. All right, let's go on. I have a couple of questions, says Karen from HR. I got these violation reports over the last week or so. There are two that relate to enforcement in Little Village of Chicago. One woman claims that one of the officers did not have any identifying information on him that they could see. So when we say conspicuous identifier, it really does need to be conspicuous, and that the agents, and I understand their kit changes day to day, and the activity, conspicuous really needs to be conspicuous. They need to look and see if it's hidden by their vest, hidden by whatever else they're wearing, hidden by their body-worn camera. It just needs to be seen. But this woman, whoever she is, the unnamed allegation, says that she was pulled to the ground, that someone was on top of her. I'm looking at a still photograph. So she's on the ground. There are two agents on top of her. One has his knee in her back and on her legs. No visible identification in the photographs. Well, wouldn't the photograph be of the backs of the agents? Kneeling over a suspect they're detaining? Wouldn't most of their identifying characteristics be concealed from the view of a still photo? Unless their entire uniform is made out of this court-mandated alphanumeric identifier. There was also a chemical spray that was deployed. An agent sitting inside his car deployed the spray while sitting in the passenger seat towards men outside the window. There was no warning given before the spray was deployed. Thursday was again Little Village. There were two tear gas canisters that you deployed. And then at least in the declarations from the plaintiffs and the video the plaintiffs provided, there was no warning prior to deploying those canisters, and that one of the canisters was thrown over the head of the crowd. So, again, a warning has to be, I'm going to deploy tear gas if you do not do whatever. Get off my car, back up, allow this car to pass. So the warning has to be, it has to include what it is that you're going to do before you do it and allow people time to comply. Again, micromanaging the use of force of these federal officers. And then in the same incident on Thursday that one of the declarants, the plaintiffs again, says an agent was not wearing a body camera, was not wearing obviously visible identification, shot him in the neck from 5 feet away with a pepper ball. There's a photograph of the agent aiming the weapon at the individual. So if it's a still photograph, how would you know what preceded the agent's decision to fire the pepper ball? You can't make an informed decision from a still photograph. And the individual has a large painful welt. What does that have to do with anything? If the use of force was lawful, the welt is a consequence of a lawful use of force. And as the agents were driving away, they pointed a pepper ball gun and then a real gun at another declarant, plaintiff, who's a combat veteran. What's that got to do with anything? How is him being a combat veteran change whether or not the officer's use of force or threat of force was lawful or not? The combat veteran who was lawfully standing on the side of the road voicing his opposition, is that really why he was threatened with force? That's all he was doing? That's all that was happening? We don't know the answer to that question because this judge doesn't actually want to know the answer, or she would call in the officer who did this. But the declarant, the complainer, says the agent who pointed the real gun in his face said, "Bang, bang, you're dead, liberal." What's the evidence of this? Where's their video, by the way? This judge who demands body-worn cameras on the federal officers, where's the video to support these allegations? None. Is this declarant even in court under oath making these statements subject to cross-examination? No. They could say any damn thing they want, and it's not challenged in any way by this judge. She just accepts this as true to the detriment of federal enforcement of immigration law. You would agree with me, the judge says, that not knowing anything else, that on the face, this would violate the TRO. This is supposed to be a judge. A judge is a judge whose job it is to hear both sides in an adversarial process. She's saying, well, if I only hear one side, not knowing anything else, that on its face, this would violate the TRO, not knowing anything else. Yes, if you only hear the side of the complainant sounds like they're in the right, don't they, Your Honor? How many years do you have to be a federal judge to know this is bullshit? That this is why our courts are an adversarial process. The judge continues, if the agents are in a car driving away, there's no serious threat or immediate threat to their safety or the safety of others. If someone standing on the sidewalk or on the side of the road and yelling that he doesn't want the agents there, yes, if you believe this bullshit hypothetical, sure. Why would you do that? And of course, Greg Bavino reasonably says, I believe each situation is dependent on the situation. I'd like to know more about what happened in those various activities before I would say anything one way or the other. Bavino was smart enough to know that he can't have an informed opinion without hearing both sides of the story. He says, I don't know all the facts that were present there. And the judge says, I agree. I don't know all the facts either, but if the facts I have right now, half the facts, if I was looking only at those facts, that would tell me that this has violated the TRO. I know, I don't know all the facts either, but I'm going to pretend that the only facts that matter are the half that are coming from your enemies.